So, welcome to the Spicy AR podcast, Ctrl-Alt-Disrupt. I'm Mark.
I'm Joanna Miller, and in this series, we will dive into the world of AI with a special focus on credit, order to cash, and the challenges leaders are facing.
We're here to ask the spicy questions around others avoid, cutting through hype, challenging assumptions, and exploring where AI helps and where it hurts.
Think of us as a Statler and Waldorf of the O2C tech.
So, buckle up because this isn't just another AI podcast. It's bold, it's sharp, and yes, it comes with a Scoville rating. So, what's on the menu today, Joanna?
Today, we are tasting the volume bias.
Volume bias. That seems like a good place to start. So, what is it? What is volume bias?
Volume bias is actually the simplest bias we can imagine because it is related with the uh, volume with the volume of the data. Let's take an example. In the order to cash data set, we have the certain number of customers that are creating the biggest volume of the transactions. So this customer group is dominating the entire data set, and another like a small or medium businesses are producing less transactions. So this is exactly the volume, the base for the volume bias, because actually AI produces the volume bias, learning and generalizing towards the dominating data set.
Okay, so how would that, from a credit O to C point of view,
Mhm.
how would that kind of actually kind of physically manifest itself? How would we see it?
Well, I can give like the publicly available examples in the order to cash area. Um, Maybe let's talk about high radius. This is actually widely used order to cash automation platform that is AI powered. And the company itself published the information about the case with the persisting billing error they faced. And there were large amount of errors in invoicing because the specific group of customer, actually the big companies with the frequent transaction volume dominated the training data set. And as a rule, so AI analyzed the data and assigned the payment terms rules that are applicable to this overrepresented group of the customers that resulted with billing error. Obviously, this is clear inefficiency. It resulted in a lot of rework and it also may jeopardize the customer reputation. So this clearly underlines how volume bias can impact the operations. Another example is Tyson Foods. So they've been facing the serious errors around their collection and credit risk. So because of the similar volume bias, obviously, because there was transactions that were overrepresented, the credit limits were assigned unfairly, and overly aggressive or overly relaxed communication strategy, collections communication strategy was assigned to the customers. So huge impact.
So what you're describing there really is when AI is let loose on the master data, right? And it's populating the master data with credit limits, payment terms, and as you said, kind of well, billing information as well. Yeah, so it's right at the core, isn't it, really? So it's easy to say AI takes away the need for people to update master data, but like you said, straight away you've got this volume bias issue.
Well, this is both around the master data and the transactional data as well, because if
Yeah.
you have, for example, the number of invoices with the specific terms issued in the specific country, then it can produce, actually it learns from this specific country and assigns the same, let's say, payment terms to other regions, to small region, for example. I
Okay.
don't know, Poland.
I was also reading that from the point of view of credit limits,
Yeah,
it would the natural bias there is that the AI would look at all the higher volume, bigger customers that are, low risk, shall we say, and then make the assumption that any other companies come on board, irrespective of their background, would fall into the same category of being low risk. Right. So yeah,
exactly. Or opposite.
the
It
opposite.
can also be opposite. For example, if it learns from the large volume customers, even the safe customers, where they represent a specific behavior, and then the behavior of the small businesses is slightly different, then it may upfront assume that this is high risk, even regardless of the specific customer financials or payment behavior. Even another example, this is interesting example from the supplier credibility check from the public industry, public procurement. So in one situation, there was a huge amount of historical data that was related to bad media about performance of the specific region. And regardless of the current or changing situation, the AI was highlighting the vendors from this specific area as a high risk, regardless of how they performed, and regardless that the situation have changed. So this is more bias and AI aging as well. So that kind of a mixture. So this is never super simple, but yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I'm just thinking there the carnage that could be caused with the years that have been put together developing portfolio segmentation,
Yeah.
collection dunning strategies, the relationship with credit insurance, right? You imagine if all this gets turned on its head when, if AI is sort of let loose and, performs this volume bias and sort of rewrites everything, you could undo years of relationship building in seconds. Yeah. I mean, this is
Yes.
serious stuff, isn't it? This is serious stuff.
This is serious. This is very dangerous. So, when it comes to the simple email prioritization, this is probably small impact for the individual, but for the company who unfairly sets the collection strategy that is overly aggressive towards the customers who actually are healthy financially and with a good payment behavior, or requires from those customers prepayment suddenly, it
Yeah.
can really jeopardize the relation and turn into the customer loss and revenue loss. So
And
yeah, that's very serious. That's
and
very
most
serious.
importantly, well, you add up all those things you said, reputational loss. Right.
Reputational.
Okay,
Reputational.
so hopefully we've got enough people sitting up now, paying attention,
Mhm.
and thinking, whoa, it's not so straightforward. This is not the silver bullet, as we've mentioned, in writing, and I'm sure we'll mention that many times as we go forward. Uh,
Yeah.
so now we know this. How do we
Mhm.
deal with it? What do companies now need to do to avoid this?
Uh, well, first of all, the companies need to understand that that data cleansing and data curation balancing is not only applicable at the moment of AI deployment. It is applicable, so it should be performed regularly with a set period of time. So AI retraining, AI performance monitoring. So the real life dashboards should be set up that monitor the performance. So that there is a statistical check that is called statistical parity, and it assesses in different subgroups of, let's say, credit risk score, different subgroup of customers if they have the same chances to get the positive score. You need to monitor the volume, so how the distribution between the customers, transaction, countries, the data distribution is shaping. Actually, from my perspective, personally, the best is prevention rather than observation and jumping into action where the damage is already there. So, like monitoring, obviously, because you can make the mistake if you are retraining. But from my perspective, and also from the market best practices, is to keep the AI training data pool where the data are stored and rebalanced regularly, reweighted, and oversampled for the minor or misrepresented groups to enable successful training. And then regular training, regular audits,
Right.
tests, stress tests for the edge cases. So
Okay.
yeah, prevention, the best practice.
Absolutely. And knowing what you're dealing with at the front end. You mentioned this weighting, right? And I've
Yeah.
been researching that and reading it a little bit. What does that actually mean? How do you do it? Right. So if we take an AR portfolio, 10,000 accounts or whatever, like we said, you got your Pareto rule, your 80/20,
Mm.
the 20%, the bigger companies, because they're 80% of the volume and so on, they're the ones that are going to drive this volume bias. So how do we do this weighting to incorporate the other 80% of the portfolio?
Yeah, so there are different strategies. So it can be either undersampling, oversampling, either weighting, or more sophisticated method of oversampling, which is artificial data generation. So, like the weighting is assigning the weights simply to the data sets. If, for example, there is like a large volume of data coming from the small group of the customers, so it has assigned the weight 1, and another small customers group has, for example, weight 10
Yeah.
assigned. So there are the models who have automated weighting included, but not all plug and so-called plug and play tools on the market use this. Probably not many even.
Well,
So
back to our plug and
that's
play,
one.
aren't we? Back to our plug
Mhm.
and play again. Sorry, carry on. Right.
Yeah, yeah. That's one. Another one is oversampling and undersampling. So oversampling is simply the simplest form is duplicating the data for misrepresented populations in the data set, data populations. I mean, or reducing the number of data, like just cutting for the overrepresented. That sounds simply, obviously, we need to make sure that with the reduction of the data, we need to ensure that there is a right diversity of the data. And data generation, which is the form of oversampling. This is the technique of creating the artificial data that follow the pattern, like follow the structure of the real data. And this is better form because instead of duplicated scenarios, we have new scenarios from which AI can learn. So
Does all this that you're describing here, does this fall under the umbrella of governance? This is what you, because you write a lot about governance,
I,
right?
I, I would say yes, because this is the data governance. So making sure that all the data set that is used for the training is diverse, balanced, and relevant to the topic we are solving. So yeah, that's the part of data and AI governance, I would say.
And then following on from that, it's interesting now this thing about governance, ownership, etc. Who drives the governance? Is it the credit control people or elsewhere? Because I can see an opportunity here for credit people, and we'll come back to that in a second. But who's the who are the governors of this? Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, the governance should be multidisciplinary. So definitely, data shouldn't be owned by IT solely,
Right.
because IT doesn't always. Maybe there are exceptions, but very often doesn't understand the context. So definitely, there should be the data governance committee with the clear structure of data ownership, and the ownership should be assigned uh, to the data producer. I mean the quality of the data. Uh, I mean like the balancing, rebalancing, weighting, synthetic data production. That should be the AI forces assigned to that one, and retraining the model. But the data ownership uh, should be owned the quality by producer, but the data governance committee review should be multidisciplinary. So yes, the credit has a lot to say about the data, and definitely should be the part of the data committee, data ownership, and
Major part.
uh, data review.
Right. I can see, I
Yeah,
mean, there's a couple of things that are coming out on this. First of all, this entering this AI and what we're talking about here, there's volume bias and the weighting and everything that goes with it, and the making sure all the time that the records are constantly reconciled and checked. This is going to completely rewrite the credit policy, basically, right? Because you've already got the credit policy now says like who approves what and so on. If a credit note is over a certain value and this kind of thing, the different people have to sign it and payment terms and collection processes and all that. Now we got to bring in this aspect, right? Because this is another layer now within the credit policy to make sure that the data that's being driven by AI is correct all the time, right? Otherwise, everything else that's in your traditional credit policy could get blown out the window, as we said, for all the wrong reasons, right? And the other, I mean, the really important thing here for people working in credit order to cash, and my working from our perspective in Callisto and yours as you're writing a training program for us. Most of the shared service center leaders are talking about training their people, right? And it seems that they're leaning very much towards training them in AI process, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but what we've been talking about has really emphasized the fact that the people working in credit, right, have to have an end-to-end understanding of everything that goes on, right from the point of
yeah,
quote to cash, if you like. We go right back up there and understand everything right through to the point of cash allocation. Because if these guys are going to be on this AI governance committee you're talking about, they've really got to have a full 360 view of what they're talking about. Coming out of a silo and saying I'm a
mhm.
subject matter expert in Cash App doesn't make you qualified to be on driving the governance of AI. Probably the opposite, because all you can see is one little thing. Right?
Yes, yes, exactly. So the people who overlook the data quality, maybe the like a simple quality of the how and when is applied, and if this is cash is applied correctly, yes, the ownership and properly described. So the ownership belongs to the cash application processor, but mm, the linkage between data overview should become to the people who have wider perspective than just a person who just applies the cash. Definitely.
or collects
Definitely.
or does disputes or just does the risk management. It's silo busting at the end of it.
It's
You've
yeah,
got to get this silo mentality completely broken, right? That's got to go. Yeah, that has to go.
yeah.
Um,
It has.
okay, I think as with all these subjects, we could actually talk all day. Again,
Yeah.
brilliant conversation. Um, Unfortunately, old Father Time has beaten us to it again. To our audience, we hope you've enjoyed it today. Please contact Joanna and myself to discuss how we can support you on your AI voyage of discovery with this area and others in previous podcasts as well. Next up, we're going to explore all things data mesh, which
Or
is,
mishmash.
yes, or mishmash, indeed, yes. So until then, Ctrl-Alt-Disrupt and keep your AI spicy. Bye, everybody.
Bye.